Aloha, everyone, and welcome to Java. Thank you for joining me. This is Thursday, and it's for September 14th, 2023. I want to give a quick shout out to my friend Jules. Hopefully, you're joining us with some coffee. We've got a ton to go through. There is so much that happened that I've got to go through. I'm going to kind of skim through the markets. Today, we've got to hold the breath and wait. We are expecting inflation numbers and inflation data prior to the market open at 8:30. So all eyes are going to be on that. As of this moment, we're still in that high risk territory, like wobbling Jenga game that is about to come down on these markets. They're still green. We've got oil still above that $89, heading above 90, and with the supply restrictions can go even higher. So we're watching the 10-year yield came back a little bit, so that's giving the markets a little bit of a breather and the relative strength of the dollar. So we have the Fed, the ECB, European Central Bank, and the BOE, Bank of England, all will meet next week. Not together, they're having meetings. They don't collaborate, remember. Powell told us that. They're going to decide their rates and policy next week. So when we get these inflation numbers, the jobless claims, the CPI, core CPI, PPI, pardon me, all eyes will be on these numbers, and it depends on how they frame them with the language. So I'm going to move past this. Expect high volatility as soon as markets open. It should kind of calm down the middle of the day. And then this is the big movement, pretty much, I believe, for today. So should kind of clear up and settle down towards the end of the day. I want to move on to our oil and energy stories because they're going to tie into what's happening on the end that have got to get out to you guys. So we've got Germany hugely increasing their imports of Russian oil. Now, of course, they're not buying directly. So Berlin is reportedly buying sanctioned countries' crude, but they have to buy it via India because they have no other supply that can get to them that they can afford. And these prices are already high. So Europeans are facing tremendous cost for heating for this winter. So just want to show this that Saudi and Russia are still restricting supply and keeping that price high, and they will continue to do so. So on the other side, we've got the euro is wobbling before the European Central Bank next week. Again, same stories, same pressures. So I think these central banks are going to move in lockstep. My guess is quarter point hike in September, and then after that they will pause. But right now, the inflation is too hot. Okay. In addition, with this story that kind of complements it, India and Russia are speeding up a new shipping route. So they are basically opening a line that is going straight from Vladivostok to Chennai. So they'll be moving not just crude, but also their goods, trade goods. So if you saw like the past week or so, we've been going over how everybody has kind of been seeing India as the up and coming one with the higher GDP, more resources, and everybody's kind of trying to buddy up to them to get them on their side. From Russia to even America, Joe Biden trying to talk to them. So China kind of has rough borders with them. It's still got some wars and some mapping geographic concerns. So it looks like India has kind of chosen Russia. And I'm going to go through a couple of other things here as well. So along with this route, Russia is also going over a new Arctic route, the Northern Sea. And this one is direct from Russia to China to open up their trade routes. So this one's going through. They've already started ordering some special tankers that actually go through the ice, and they will be expanding. So now this is that story. It talks about the international shipping artery and more of what they're going to be doing, opening these trade routes and just kind of bypassing the system as it is. And we've still got the backup in the Panama Canal going on if you haven't kept up with that story. So we've got this goes along with it. Top Russian bank expanding in India. So Sberbank in Russia is basically like their JP Morgan. I don't think it could possibly be as corrupt, but they're opening their banking in India. So they've kind of chosen their partnerships here. And if you remember the story from a couple of days ago, we were talking about how China has opened a large bank in Saudi. So all of these nations are now trading their native currencies and bypassing the dollar. So while I thought this was going to be a while, it looks like it could accelerate rapidly. And this ties into a story that I've got a little later on. So let's talk about the banks in comparison. So we have our first story. It's about US consumer prices jumping and straining household budgets. Well, we knew inflation would continue, but this is going to push the Federal Reserve to hike. We've got Wells Fargo slashing 40,000 more jobs on top of closing their branch banks. And then we've got Citigroup is doing a full restructuring of the business. So they're losing top end people as well as bottom end people, numerous jobs, and restructuring how they've got their business run. In comparison, we have the Russian bank opening in India, and they have agreed to launch cross border rupee transactions. So it means they're selling to India their oil between rubles and rupees, completely killing the petrodollar. And on top of that, there is another issue that's been happening with foreign transactions when they have to keep foreign reserves. India is talking to Russia about using the trapped rupees. So Russia, with all of these sanctions, is not able to use massive amount of rupees. And now India has found kind of a third way go around that they will be able to basically kind of borrow against them and utilize that capital that has been sitting there. So I guess one of the things that I want to bring up is that the mainstream media would have you believe that Russia is weak and losing the war and doing terribly trade-wise, and nothing could be further from the truth. So I want to go over the trade wars now, which all of this plays into. The US is moving nukes from Turkey to Romania. They haven't started it yet, it's only in discussions. But a lot of this is largely because Turkey is now looking at joining the BRICS and partnering with Russia and China. So we've got Secretary Blinken talking about how the old world order is over and he wants to be in a position of strength. We've got a couple of military advances in the United States. The Air Force is getting the new Compass. This is an electric warfare plane. Works completely differently. But anyway, they are bolstering the supply. Yesterday, if you saw that one, the new stealth bomber will be ready soon. And they're kind of readying all of this. It's not saber rattling. They see war coming and they're trying to play it down. They're not letting the public know about how bad it is. So we've also got the Biden administration is transferring armored vehicles to the Palestinian Authority, and this is because they expect more trouble there. So they're just trying to keep their bases everywhere that they can, whether people want them there or not. And we've got on the other side, we've got the Chinese warships talking about menacing Taiwan. So we have carriers out there, but it's still an issue. Moving forward, we've got another problem here because the EU has been seizing personal phones and vehicles from Russians as they come through. And this has, of course, made them angry. So they're saying Moscow should suspend diplomatic relations with the European Union. This is a guy you got to watch. Medvedev means business, and he's pretty tough with the things that he says. He speaks a little more, but I think this time he is going to stand his ground now that they've got a little bit more power behind them. And this is a quote from him. He says, "It would be better to just temporarily suspend diplomatic relations with the EU and bring diplomatic personnel back to our country." End quote. This is the ex-president. He's suggesting, arguing that such a move would make European leaders, quote, fill their pants, unquote, because embassies are evacuated before very specific events, unquote, and they would not know what to expect from Russia. So those are quotes from him, or at least his translator, and just to see which direction we're moving. So with this, we've got a couple of stories that are printing. The rogue Russian pilot accidentally firing 2 missiles at a Royal Air Force plane. And then we've also got on the other side, China sending warplanes and warships surrounding Taiwan. So things are really beginning to heat up. I just want you to be aware. I think we're going to have a little bit of warning on this, but I just want to let you know first because it's not coming out mainstream media. So if you would hit the like button if there's anything indeed in this video that you did like. I wish you all a green trading day, just a wonderful day in general. We're going to stick together. We're going to be okay. We've got each other. Don't worry about this. I'm going to keep you ahead of it. And until I see you again, my friends, stay free.